Hey, what's going on, guys? In this one we're just going to be building a mini desk waterfall. So I got these little stackable trays off Amazon. Just going to use a couple of them here. That bottom one is about 7 by 7, just a little smaller. And obviously each tier is going to be cut in half that size, and they're about 2 inches tall. So I've got this little JJ pump. I use these a lot, just have to make sure that these are going to fit. Looks like it should slide right underneath that first one. Just going to have to punch a hole for that adapter. So we got those drill bits out. Found one that's just smaller than that adapter, so it should work pretty good. Got that set up. Punched a hole in that second tier. Like I said, that was just a little bit too small, so we did a little extra work on that and made sure that adapter fit in real nice. Then I used that second tier just as a kind of a guide to punch a hole in that top one. Made sure that hose fit through, and it was looking pretty good. So we got those trays stacked up again, just as a little bit of a dry fit. See how everything was looking. It ended up looking like that pump with the adapter had just a little bit too much sticking out, so it was offsetting that second tier a little bit, so we're going to have to get that cut down at some point, as well as a little cutout for the cord out the back. So we got that taken apart. Little life tip here, every project you work on, make sure you're using it as an excuse to get a new tool. So I got this Dremel. I'm sure you could have used just a knife or a razor blade or something to cut these out. They weren't too tough, but Dremel felt like a good idea. So we started getting those waterfall cutaways out. Did a little work with the cutting disc, and then I started using that sanding disc to get some of those burrs from the plastic melting off. So we got that switched out. So we're hoping to get a little cleaner look. I realized that my pocket knife worked pretty good for just catching those burrs, so I ended up just using the sanding bit to round over that edge just a little bit. On that second tier, I ended up cutting the waterfall just a little bit wider than the top tier just to kind of mix it up a little bit. My first cut here was not straight at all, as you can see, but we got it cleaned up with that sanding disc as well as my pocket knife a little bit more, and that should give us a pretty good flow for everything. So we'll get it stacked back up, see kind of what everything's looking like. And then we'll need to cut that adapter down before we can do any testing. Whenever I cut these little pieces, I'm always concerned they're not going to work because, I mean, where do I ever get a little adapter that fits perfectly into this pump again? But luckily we got that cut up and ended up sliding right back into that pump really nice. So should work perfectly. So you can see there's not really anything else sticking up at the top of that like there was before. So got that slid back in, everything stacked back up. Also got that notch cut out for the cord out the back. So you can see that second tier sitting nice and flush now. So back inside we'll get that hose cut down, as well as that pump stuck in the bottom. Make sure everything's fitting good. And then I ended up just filling up all the tiers with rocks. I don't want to have to fill up the second and top tier with water completely to see the flow. So once we got these hoses kind of trimmed out, you can see I got those filled up so we're not having to use as much water. And then we'll get that plugged in and kind of see what everything's looking like. When you're filling these up, biggest thing to remember is if the power turns off, you don't want these to start leaking everywhere. So I made sure I didn't fill more than that bottom tier up. Then when we got it plugged in, obviously shot everywhere. Not sure why I wasn't planning on that, but it ended up fixing itself. So I didn't end up loving how the water was flowing down off the waterfalls. It was kind of just sucking to that edge, as you can see. Not much of a waterfall. As well, that second tier ended up being just a little bit too close to the top edge. So I ended up just sanding down that waterfall lip on that second tier just a little bit lower so that top edge of the water wasn't so close to the edge of the actual container. Next, I needed to fix that waterfall flow. So what better option than paper? Obviously, you're thinking paper and water don't mix, but of course, I'm going to spray paint it so it's completely waterproof and will work forever. I actually don't really know how this is going to turn out, but it seemed like a decent idea. I didn't know what else to kind of fold around and make those little lips out of, so the waterfall actually worked. So I got that spray painted. You can kind of see what I'm thinking there with those edges. then I gave that some time to dry. Didn't end up really giving it enough time to get dry. It's kind of more of a sticky dry, which, you know, in this case works great because it'll obviously stick to the super glue as well as the edge of that container much better. So you can see I just got that fold and I'm clipping down those edges so I can actually like fold that around that outside edge. Then I just got some super glue on the actual container as well as that paper. Got that pushed down in. So I ended up feeling like this looked pretty good. Because it was still just kind of a sticky dry though, once I got that top tier on, kind of realized I had fingerprints all over that. So I ended up just taping off the front of those. That way I could spray paint it, kind of get a little extra coat on there to hide those fingerprints, hopefully make everything look a little bit better. So it's kind of the final touches, getting that spray painted, and then let those dry overnight. So there's the final product, guys. I think it ended up turning out pretty good. It'll be a nice little feature for in the kitchen, or on a desktop, or whatever else you'd want to use it on. Doesn't make too much noise either, so just a nice little water flow, a little extra feature, wherever you're going to end up putting it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. Here's a couple extras that I think you'll enjoy watching as well.